Hi, and welcome back to A Better Choice Homestead. My name is Kelly, and I live on about a half an acre in the city in central New York. So no, I don't have a homestead today, but I do believe in practicing as much self-sufficiency as possible, as well as growing and using whole, real food in cooking for better all over health. We are at 10 weeks before my estimated last frost date, and celery can be done 8 to 10 weeks before. So we're still in good time. I plant Utah celery. That's the only celery. Well, I've also tried planting the pink celery, but that didn't go so well. So I stick with Utah celery. I've got a couple bags of this from Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, as well as one package from M.I. Gardner. So we're going to get to planting. First, I'm going to tell you about the soil. So this is a seed starting mix, and in here I have added some worm compost. So that is going to add a slow release fertilizer. Since these will be in these cups for a little bit of time, I want to make sure that they do get fed once they germinate. Now, in my last video, I showed you how I start seeds in their disposable roasting pans stacked together. And I did my onions in there in the last video. And I do use those trays a lot, but I don't use them exclusively. I do a lot with solo cups, and even those roasting pans, the kind I buy them in bulk at the at BJ's Costco-like store near me, and I reuse those. I used new this year because my other ones were 4 years old. I ended up throwing them away at the end of last season. But for now, I've just got these reusable pots. I ordered some starts from Azure Standard last year, and these were left over, so I saved them and I'm reusing them. So what I've done with the soil, because I don't want my house overtaken by fungus gnats as it has been in the past, is I added all of the seed starting mix as well as the worm castings into this, oh, it's very heavy, this container here. And then I boiled a big pot of water and I dumped the boiling water into here, and hopefully that is going to kill any eggs. Last year I skipped this step. I don't know how I skipped that step, but I did. With just about every planting that I did, I just went straight, filled the cups with soil. And since I do start seeds a lot in my house, I was prone to get the fungus gnats without adding the boiling water. And I was absolutely overrun with fungus gnats last year. It took I don't think we've truly got rid of all of them until December. And when you start sowing seeds in February to December, that is a long time to deal with fungus gnats. So I use boiling water to kill, or hopefully kill, all of the eggs that are in here before we start. So now that my soil has been saturated with boiling water and it has cooled down, I am ready to begin. So these do have drainage holes at the bottom. So I'm just going to fill each pot here with soil almost to the top. I'll probably fast forward through some of this. Okay, I've got 18 of these trays started. They're pretty much up to the top. I didn't compact them. You definitely want the soil relatively loose so that the new roots that sprout have an easier way of finding themselves into the soil and able to take up nutrients. So I'm going to find a pack that has already been opened. So let's see, these were packed for 2022. So these are technically 2 years old. And they are very, very small. So these don't have to go in deep. I'm really just gonna put them on the surface of the soil, scratch them in a little bit. I'm gonna do a few seeds per cell, but ultimately I'll thin these out to one. At least that's what I'm saying. I have a really, really hard time thinning. I usually up pot and end up with 600 plants, half of which I end up having to give away every year. So I am going to practice self-control this year. That is what this gardening season is going to be all about, is following my plan so that I'm not overrun by plants that I can't fit into my garden. I have squeezed onto my property, I think 24 beds. I also have probably 24 containers. Oh, way more than that, probably 3 or 4 dozen containers. And then when I still have extra things to plant, I have a ton of grow bags and even buckets that I grow in. So I pack as much as I can into my garden, but even still, I tend to start more plants than I can fit in. So I'm just going to take a small pinch of these. I would show you, but they're so tiny, I don't even know if you would be able to see them. So I'm just going to pinch and sprinkle until I see a few drop. Okay, that one had a few drop. There's just a couple left there. All right, now that they are in their tray, I'm just going to kind of scratch the surface and make sure that these have really good contact with the soil and a little coverage. They don't need a lot of coverage. They're so tiny. They don't have all that much energy in the seed itself to get the stem up to the surface where it can start to photosynthesize and create its own energy. So we just want to lightly make sure that they're lightly covered. So again, just kind of moving the soil around. Okay, I am going to just give these guys the tiniest little bit of drink just to make sure that those seeds, again, are, have contact with the water and the soil. And then I'm going to put these on my grow shelf under lights. They germinate at about 70 degrees. And while it is warm where I live right now, unseasonably warm, it was in the 60s today, and this is still February, unheard of. But it will get cold again. So they're going to be on a heat map under lights on my grow shelf. So why grow celery in your garden? It's easy to pick up at the grocery store. It's not even that expensive. Well, celery is kind of in the middle. It's not on the dirty dozen, but it's also not on the clean 15 list. So when you buy celery at the grocery store, if it's not organic, you are ingesting a lot of pesticides. And celery is a wonderful food for your overall health. It's loaded with antioxidants. It has vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin K, potassium, folate, magnesium, iron. It has both soluble and insoluble fiber. It's an anti-inflammatory for your digestive tract. Not to mention, it tastes good. People like to eat celery chopped up in egg salad or cut into slices with some peanut butter or some cream cheese on top. I love to use celery in my soups and my stews, in my pot pies. I also save the celery tops, and I will either freeze those to use in bone broth, or I will freeze dry and powder it down to make my own celery salt. It's just a really versatile food that doesn't take up a lot of space, and it packs a lot of nutrition as well. Here we are a week later. It has been 7 days since we started this celery, and we've got some good germination. This one here has something larger growing, and I don't think that is a celery, but we do have a little celery sprout here. Some of these cell trays don't have any sprouts in them yet, but some have quite a few. So in here, this one has 5. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this little guy here. And then again, like I said, some don't. Well, let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3 that don't have any. All the other trays have at least one. So what I will probably do, well, looks like this one actually does have some starting to come up. I think we'll probably get germination in all of them. Now, the reason I started the celery in the larger cups rather than the cell trays was because I had the cups available, and because I don't think that celery likes to be messed with once it starts to grow. So I'm hoping I will get germination in all of them. I have 18 here. You can grow celery two to four. So let's say average of 3 per square foot. So this is not going to take up much space in my garden. It does take them a while to get going. They're slow to start. When they do get planted, they're going to want a lot of nutrition. So I will plant them with some compost, and I will also side dress them with compost throughout the growing season as well. So I'm really looking forward to having celery in my garden again this year. Thank you for spending time with me today, learning how to start celery seeds and why you should. And I hope that you can find some space to dedicate to celery and get some seeds started. My name is Kelly at A Better Choice Homestead, and I hope you come back and visit soon.